We would like to just ask about your background. How do you grow up as a child, and where do you grow up as to become an adult like you are right now?
Okay, great. Well, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and both of my parents came from Korea, so immigrants from Korea, right after the Korean War.
Wow.
And grew up very poor, on government assistance. We had the government cheese, and my father was working as a dishwasher, and worked his way, went to college, and then. But we grew up very poor. But what it taught me was that hard work does lead to success. Mm-hmm. And I went to a very rough school in high school in the inner city. But it taught me a lot about staying strong, keeping your focus no matter what's kind of going around you, and know what your goals are, and just stay the path.
Interesting. So it makes you the entrepreneur that you are right now. Your company has been voted as the fastest startup by the Atlanta Business Chronicle in the health category. What makes you, to wake up one day and decided to launch this business? Can you share some of that story with us?
Yeah, so after college, I went to Emory University School of Medicine, graduate school, to become an anesthetist, which is someone who delivers anesthesia under the direction of a doctor. Wow. And I worked in medicine for 17 years. And during that time, I did a lot of contract work. So I went from to 11 different locations, a shift here, shift there. And even before there was a term gig economy, I was pretty much doing that kind of work. And what I discovered was I could make 30% more money if I just worked as a contractor going place to place versus staying at one location and being an employee. And that time, everyone was doing like Uber everything. Like they were Uberizing food,
Yes.
They were Uberizing grocery deliveries. Yes. And so I thought, well, why not they just Uberize, healthcare staffing? Mm-hmm. And I partnered with a very prominent tech person here named Edwin Marcial, who's the founding CTO of Intercontinental Exchange, who then put together a big team for me. We started to work on this platform called SnapNurse, which would be essentially a gig economy style platform that can mobilize nurses and other healthcare professionals to hospitals and centers that really need them. And that began the journey to where we are today. Combine that with that great technology, combined with the types of nurses that can mobilize very quickly and like this kind of nomadic lifestyle, with what happened last year with the pandemic and all the needs, and currently with the needs currently, you can see why this company grew very fast.
Yes.
But we couldn't have done it without already having built the technology and already have had the nurse database that we built, as a foundation before this happened.
Yes, yes. So when you first started, I'm sure you have a lot of challenges seeking funding to launch your business. Can you share some of that insights to the challenges that you were facing in fundraising to launch your business?
Yes, definitely. When we first started, we went around to all the startup pitches I'll start over since I hit my foot. When I first started, we went around to all the startup pitches. We went to all the venture capital meetings, private equity, and of course, we just got shut down everywhere we went. Wow. And part of the thing that kept saying, oh, you don't have any experience doing this, so it's really risky for us to invest any kind of money in you guys. The idea is great, they'd say, but you're not the one to do it, If it was someone else, then yes. I mean, in a nice way, they kind of said it that way. So we quickly had to pivot to raising money from people we knew. And for literally our friends and family. So we always say, wow, if this business didn't work out, we would have nowhere to go. You know, no Thanksgiving, no Christmas, no reunions. We'd be left out because it was literally my best friends and any kind of family I had and anyone I've ever worked with. You know,
I see.
so we did do some big pitch dinners where we pitched a lot of our, not only our friends and family, but also doctors that we knew that we worked with in hospitals. People that we knew that would get it right away and say, oh yeah, that would totally work because they understood healthcare, right? And healthcare staffing. And those that didn't know about healthcare staffing would say, well, I don't know about that, but I trust you, you know?
Yes.
So that's where it led to, we raised 1.4 million in about 30 days,
wow.
Which is really unheard of in startup world.
Yeah.
But what I say is, it's so much easier to raise it that way than to, some of the funds here would make you jump through all these hoops. You know, do the startup pitch up, then just write a thing, a giant essay, then show me a PowerPoint deck. Then, But it was more than that. It was 5 or 10 meetings, and then they'd say, here you go, here's $10,000, you know. That's gonna last like 1 week, you know, in this startup.
Yeah.
So the prizes were so tiny.
Yeah.
For startup pitches, win $10,000, you know. You know, if they gave 100,000, I'd be shocked, which I've never even seen that. But even that would only last like a couple months. So startups never can, if they're not well funded, you're just basically deeming them to die. Because you have to give them the long runway with lots of funding to give them at least 12 to 18 months to give it a go. Yeah, I think you have to work. In order to raise money in this town or in any town, you have to work with the system that already exists, right? You're not going to change people's perspective on whether you're a woman, whether you're an Asian. You can only work within that system to get your objectives, right? And I used to say, well, I'm just going to, someone's going to notice it and not care that I'm Asian or white, or I mean, Asian or a woman, you know? And then I realized, you know what, I can't have that attitude. I have to have the attitude that I may not be able to raise the money just with me. But if I surround myself with people that are fundable, for example, the CTO, Edwin Marcial, is credited with the largest IPO in Georgia history. You know, I have Jeff Richards, who's he's a white man that, he's a very good, not just because he's a white man, but he's, he has the look that's investable. He worked at a hospital, as an administrator. You surround yourself with a team that can sell a product. And before my history in a medical history, I worked in television, which I failed to mention that, but I had a 10-year history selling and creating reality television for a long time.
Interesting.
And I would say, well, I use the same principles. You have to put together the right cast to sell the show. If you don't have the cast, you won't sell the reality show because it's all about the cast, right? And so I learned that you can't just think take me as I am and think that people are going to take you. You need to surround yourself with people a team that people can trust. If it's not you that they can trust, then put around you people that you think they could trust. While all the while you still leading. And then you're going to ensure your best success.
But your success is also unique in the sense that you have built a product first, a successful product, rather than building a business. So that's a big difference. You have a product that is working, that are in demand, and the market is willing to accept it and go. So share with us how exactly, when you first launched this out in the market, how quickly did the market grabs onto it, and how did you manage to scale from there?
Right. So I always believe that you need to create a small marketplace first, right? Because if you get too lofty and say, well, I'm going to hire all the nurses in the whole U.S. and then, hopefully I'll get some, jobs. Instead of going that way, say, I'm going to only do Atlanta and all the nurses I possibly can recruit in Atlanta and all the jobs and all the facilities I can possibly have in Atlanta.
I see.
Then you create a marketplace where actual transactions are happening. Because if you don't have the jobs, then the nurses go away.
Yes.
If you have the jobs and no nurses, then the jobs go away. So you have to kind of it's like they say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You have to actually create both of them at once. You have to create a marketplace. So that's what we did. We started off in 2017, 2018, only in Atlanta.
I see.
And then in 2019, we started to expand to California, doing the same model, which is creating a market. And then, of course, the market exploded on us, in 2020 with the COVID, which helped us do like 10 years of business development. It just, instead of closing contracts in 2 to 3 months, we were closing it in 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
And they were just coming in like boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
And then after COVID, or after the first wave of COVID, all those contracts just became regular contracts.
Interesting.
So that's how we grew so fast, and then now it's again happening again with the Delta, and then all of our contracts are coming in again, so we're doing 10 years more of business development, and in 1 year, and then we grow that way.
Wow, it seems like your 24 hours per day is never enough.
Yeah, exactly. Every day is a Monday, we say.
Every day is a Monday. So what is how do you keep up with the growth at the scale that you're exploding right now? Your number one, I guess, important thing is that you got to have a right team together. And how do you recruit the right talent to help you to grow? Can you also, share with us what's your insights on that?
Right. When we were first growing as a startup, you really can't pay people very well, and you try to get anyone that'd be willing to work for you.
Yes.
At a very low salary. But then as you grow and you're able to afford some higher, better talent, then you can outsource it to someone a recruiter that goes and finds people for you, which is what we have now.
Wow.
And then they bring in executives that have experience in exactly what you're doing, which has been great because we're also big proponents of essentially promoting from within.
Yes.
So you start here, then you can get to here. But when you start to scale this fast, you can't wait for them to go 2 to 3 years and get promoted. You have to find people that are already here.
Yes.
So that's how we're scaling now. Is we're hiring lots of people at the top to be able to manage these large orders that are coming in. Lots of account managers, lots of infrastructure. We call it when you have you build out your departments more robust, like your HR department more robustly. Your payroll department has to be scaled up. And if one of those aren't scaled up, at the same time you're doing all these jobs, then it all crashes down, right?
Yes.
They all have to be built like this together. And you can actually scale too fast and completely combust.
Yeah.
So you can be careful not to take so many jobs, and then your customer service starts failing, and your services start failing, and people stop getting paid because the payroll services can't keep up. You can actually scale too fast. So you have to keep it at an even scaling pace in order to manage it.
Interesting. So where do you see your business within the next 24 months because of all this rapid growth that you're encountering? Where do you see yourself and your company in the ideal world setting, so to speak?
Yeah, in the next 24 months, we plan to continue to scale and to add more verticals. For example, like physician staffing, we're adding that as well. We plan to grow into more states. Right now, we're in 23 states, but we'd like to be in all of the U.S.
Wow.
So we're actively have salespeople going in and selling to various states and different hospitals in various states. We also plan to roll out some big initiatives. So we've already started some of those initiatives, and that is to provide healthcare to the healthcare deserts. And healthcare deserts are when people live greater than 60 miles away from any kind of healthcare facility. And right now we're doing that with the vaccines, where we have mobile vans that go out and essentially in various places of the community, from parking lots to churches.
Interesting.
And deliver vaccines in conjunction with the state governments and county governments. But we see a long-term plan there to also deliver, primary care medicine and basic care, kind of like a minute clinics,
Yes.
that sort of situation. When this vaccination kind of needs go away, or actually, start to stand down, then we can convert them. So that's one of our big initiatives as well. So we have a lot, going on, continuing to expand, land and expand, is what we're saying.
In your existing business, you have also a component of it which is very interesting, which is considered as a fintech, the payment system. Can you share how you come about the idea of that payment system? And it seems like it can be a separate business by itself at the scale it is going.
Yeah, so when I was working as a contractor and going from place to place, there was one place that always gave me a paper check at the end of every shift. And I just remember the feeling I have in the morning when, if you're really tired, you're like, I gotta go to work. And then you remember that day you're working at the center that pays you a paper check.
Yes.
And he says, well, at least I'm gonna get some money when I leave.
Yes.
And there was something motivating about like actually getting you out of bed and going to work. And the crazy thing about it is that place even paid like less per hour. But I was still willing to take that one over anything else because they paid me right away.
I see.
Because otherwise you might get paid 2 weeks or 4 weeks later.
Okay.
So the first thing I built in the platform was the ability for a nurse to get paid at the end of their shift. And it's a very robust platform. Over the next 4 years, we just kept iterating on it and iterating. And now it is basically a platform that allows any employer to be able to pay their workers at the end of every shift after an approved time card.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's much more than that, but it allows for an employer to be able to give 100% of that W-2 or 1099 workers' pay at the end of every shift. If it's W-2, they'll calculate all the benefits and the taxes and things like that and give them that. Or if it's 1099, of course, you just give them the whole amount, and to their bank account and not to a pay card, which is really important because nurses, a lot of people don't like to use pay cards because it's a little more hassle, to pay like bills and stuff out of pay cards. Now you can use a pay card if you want, but we don't see anyone so far, any nurses wanting pay cards. They all want it direct into the bank account so they can pay bills. They can. They don't have to transfer money, and there's no like fees when you transfer.
That's right.
So it's better.
Very, very clean, very direct.
Very clean. We also don't charge any fees at SnapNurse, but in our platform, if a business wanted to charge a fee in certain states, it is legal. They would charge 1% or 2%. Hey, you can access your money early. They can. So it's a very configurable platform.
So at this moment, do you just limit to healthcare provider, or do you plan to open this to all other industries to be using this platform?
Right. No, we're already, so payment, and our website's payment, like the mint leaf, payment.today is our website. But payment is now being sold to all different vertical industries. So trucking, we have one trucking client. We have a client that says like parking, parking attendants, and we have, of course, healthcare. So we have a whole new team that we just scaled up this year, and they have like an office on the other side of here where they sell the payment platform.
Interesting. So this business actually evolved from one of your brainchild and it just like vertically take off by itself.
Yeah, I mean, I believe this fintech play with payment is definitely going to be another revenue stream for us and give us a much higher valuation. I believe Asian Americans in particular can also be discriminated against because of their accent.
Yes.
And so I would just caution you to know that that is happening. So you really have to be careful to practice your pitch with someone that can help you with the dialect that you need to present well.
Yes.
And practice and practice and practice. It's okay if you have an accent, but you need to practice and speak like in the same manner that they want to hear.
Yes.
And then surround yourself with a team that they can, invest in. So continuously practice your pitch and make sure you run it by, strong English speakers that can help you with the grammar or the dialect, and project well.
Yes.
And I believe that if you do that, you can overcome the issue of the accents, the issue of that racism that can happen. Some advice I'd like to give to entrepreneurs is that you should always find an idea where you have knowledge, because I started many businesses before this that had failed, and because I wasn't an expert in hotels, I wasn't an expert in drinks, which all these things that I tried to, this would be a great idea, let me just try that. Well, I don't know anything about the beverage industry, so why am I doing that?
That's right.
Find something that we call it inside baseball, meaning very unique things about that industry that no one else probably really know on the outside, except this like small number of people, and do a business there, because that's going to differentiate you from the rest.
Yes.
And they're going to trust that you know what you're doing, because you have this kind of knowledge, because you worked at ABC and you went to school for ABC, So if you want to find success, find a business that you know really well, and then surround yourself with a team that can be funded. If you grab a bunch of students around you and you try to go get money, you're going to have a long road, a very difficult road. Okay, but if you're a student or a young entrepreneur, and then you surround yourself with people that aren't that, the 30 to 40-year-old people that have done this, that had success with the startup, they've already exited at 100 million plus, they've already had experience building $1 billion business. Then when they look at you, it's like, okay, I know this is your first rodeo, but the team around you is going to help you, and so I'm going to give you the money. And that's where you can set yourself up for success by choosing a business that you know well and setting yourself up with the right team. Then all you need is a really good timing after that, which always helps to have the best timing occur in terms of the market conditions, and you'll have a $1 billion unicorn.